Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
Alabama basketball, I know this is a tough one today, but we made a lot of people proud of us by what we've accomplished this year.
That's Avery Johnson after Alabama's longest NCAA tournament run since 2006. We'll have more on Bama Hoops in a bit, but first, good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock Bottling Company, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris, and tonight, Rodney, last week I went caffeine-free, and it was perfect. But this has been a little tough stretch for me work-wise, and I felt like I needed a little boost, so I go back to regular Pepsi. I fuel up depending on the need. So I need to lose some weight, which I do. I should be drinking Diet Pepsi, but I got to go all the way today. Oh, man. Remember to pick up some great Pepsi products the next time you're at your local grocery store. Pepsi, a Southern original. Well, Rodney, today is, for some people in Alabama, let's face it, holiday. It's not fall practice, but it's the next best thing. It's spring practice back in Tuscaloosa. The first official practice today. We're just about a month from the 8A game on April the 21st, but the Crimson Tide began its title defense indoors inside the Hank Crisp facility. You see some new faces: Dan Enos, Pete Golding, Mike Loxley in his new role as offensive coordinator. Nick Saban met with the reporters. In fact, he was meeting with them still when I came out here on the set. Here's some what Nick Saban had to say.
Well, it was certainly good to get back out there and start practicing and try to build some identity, for this team in terms of what they want to accomplish and what they want to do. And, my message to the players going out there was everybody needs to embrace the target. That means be the best player you can be the best version of yourself. The individuals on the team will make the team what it is. So that will make us be the best team we can be.
And Coach Saban also made an announcement today. Anthony Jennings expected to miss some time during the spring, as he's still coming off an injury from back in the national semifinal game of last year. I didn't hear him mention Matt Womack, but there is a report that Matt Womack won't go through spring, the offensive tackle. But here's the breaking news. Coach Saban saying that Tua Tagovailoa, who was scheduled to split reps with Jalen Hurts, hit his thumb or somehow injured his thumb on his throwing hand, his left hand. So he was taken to Birmingham. He is expected to miss some time, obviously, with a thumb injury. Now, it's just spring, so I don't want to make more out of this than it is. I don't want to push the panic button. I'm sure he'll get it taken care of and he'll be okay. But he is missing crucial time at the quarterback position. This is obviously a disappointing bit of news.
Absolutely. It's disappointing. But, again, we don't know the extent of the injury. It may be a week, whatever it is. Who knows? We'll see. But you certainly didn't want this to happen, Gary, at this point. And on top of that, I know we discussed coming in here Gardner Minshew, a quarterback who was going to be a grad transfer, and announced that he was coming to Alabama, expected to give Alabama a little depth. Now he comes out today and tweets that he's going to Washington State instead. So you get a double dose of bad news in terms of the quarterbacks today.
Well, Coach Saban did say with the thumb injury to Tua that they would work to get another quarterback ready. The man in line, of course, would be redshirt freshman Mac Jones. He's the third scholarship quarterback. Now, there are some other quarterbacks out there at practice, walk-ons, but this is an opportunity for some other guys, namely Mac Jones, to get a closer look in the spring.
I tell you, I thought Mac Jones threw the ball really well today when I had the opportunity to watch him, Gary. And again, we don't see a whole lot, but he's a guy that's a very talented passer coming out of Jacksonville Bowles High School. He's only a redshirt freshman. He's gotten bigger. So, again, he's a very talented kid, and I think eventually he's a guy that you could think would contribute. So good to have him around, but again, the quarterback depth is really not much.
Other opinions that you formed, you and I were out there at practice today. We got 2 periods, which by Alabama standards is a pretty long time. I know that we saw Devonta Smith wearing an offensive jersey but working with the cornerbacks. You saw Pete Golding, the new linebackers coach. You see the quarterbacks working here, some of the other quarterbacks. But what were some impressions that you took away from the first day? I'll give you mine in a minute.
Well, I thought, first of all, it's really difficult to tell a whole lot in shorts. I do know this. A lot of discussion has been about the new coaches. Had a chance to watch Dan Enos. He's very vocal vocal. Gary's a quarterback's coach.
Look at Scott Lashley right there.
Yeah, Scott Lashley's a good-looking player, certainly a backup offensive tackle right now, has an opportunity to compete, no question. But I thought, looking at Dan Eno, some of the new offensive coaches, Josh Gaddish, really vocal today in their first practices here. I thought Damian Harris, when I looked at him, I thought that's the best he's looked physically since I've seen him, and he's always looked good. Najee Harris looked a little sleeker, and I thought Brian Robinson, the Tuscaloosa kid from Hillcrest, I thought he's a clone of Najee Harris.
You stole my thunder, because that was what I was. That was my big takeaway, because I was standing right there next to those running backs shooting that video. Wow.
Yeah.
Damian Harris is outstanding, a 1,000-yard rusher. When Brian Robinson and Najee Harris are your backups.
And Josh Jacobs was not out there, by the way. Josh was not out there.
I mean, you're pretty good at running back, Rodney.
Yeah.
They're loaded.
Yeah. They've got some really high-quality backs, obviously, with Damian Harris coming back. I think that was huge for this team in terms of the depth on at the running back spot.
All right, again, the big news from practice today, Tua Tagovailoa hitting or injuring his thumb on his throwing hand, his left hand. He had to be taken to Birmingham. Coach Saban said he will miss some time during spring. We'll give you more news as we get it here on WVUA 23. On now to basketball. The Crimson Tide appeared in its first NCAA tournament game since 2012, won its first tournament game since 2006, but ultimately fell to the top seed in the East Regional, Villanova, in the round of 32 on Saturday. Now, Bama kept it close for a half with the Wildcats, trailed by only 5 at the break, 32-27, but Villanova showed why, they're one of the favorites to win the national championship, exploding in the second half with 49 points and really beating the heck out of Alabama in the end, 81-58. Now, there was some disappointment in the locker room after the game, but overall, the players said this season was a success.
We did what they said we couldn't. A lot of people counted us out. A lot of people said, we're going to be an NIT team after we're going on a 5-game losing streak. So, I mean, we did what a lot of people said we couldn't do.
It's year 3. And Coach Avery's tenure, I feel like we're took a step in the right direction. We got young guys coming back. We got veterans coming back. And hopefully next year we can take another step.
Some basketball news from today. Senior Armon Davis will use his 5th-year option and transfer to another school as a graduate transfer. But for the most part, Bama will have the majority of the roster back. Of course, we're waiting to see on Colin Sexton. It is expected that he'll declare for the NBA draft, although nothing official. And also Riley Norris, undecided on whether he'll pursue a medical redshirt. He could possibly return for a 5th season next year. Other than that, though, everybody is scheduled to be back. Rodney, do you like the feel of this season and feel like it was a step? We said all along the goal was to make it an NCAA tournament. They did that, and then one-upped it by winning a game. Yeah. I feel pretty good about the way it all turned out.
Well, you remember, 2 or 3 weeks ago, you asked me the question, is it a disappointing season? And my response was, well, it's not over with yet. And when you look at the way they rebounded from that 5-game losing streak to end the season, Gary, they really performed well in the SEC tournament. They had a big win over A&M. What a difference one shot can make, with Colin Sexton there to send them into the Auburn game, and then they win that game. Then they go to the NCAA tournament. A lot of people didn't think they were going to beat Virginia Tech, and they came away with a nice win there. And they played Villanova, as you said, really well. But listen, you can tell in that game one thing Alabama does need. They need some shooters. I mean, Villanova could load it up from the outside. The 3-point shot, Alabama needs some of those guys.
Consistently, because you're right. Running that high screen and roll offense, you need some guys. When Petty makes threes, they're a much better basketball team. Imagine if they shot them more consistently and had another shooter or two. You're right. But this team, this program seems like it's headed in the right direction. It's just good to be back in the big dance. It's an amazing event. And for Alabama, they got there and they won a game. Well, still to come on TITV, the Alabama women's basketball team is still alive, winning its 2nd straight WNIT game on Sunday. And that led Alabama Athletics Director Greg Byrne to give UCF a hard time on Twitter. See how the UCF AD responded. And coming up, we'll be getting to your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Now, last week was spring break. I understand that. Calls were down. Get them worked up tonight because it's football time in Alabama. 348-WVUA. That's 205-348-9882. There's the email address, TITV@WVUA23.com, or you can tweet at us using that hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. The award-winning Tider Insider Television will return after this timeout. For the 2nd straight season, the Alabama women's basketball team is in the Sweet 16 of the NIT, and for the 2nd straight season, the Tide will face Georgia Tech. Alabama beat UCF 80-61 in the 2nd round of the tournament on Sunday, and that led Alabama's Director of Athletics, Greg Byrne, to take to Twitter. He said, quote, "Great win today over UCF for Alabama women's basketball. Now, we're not ready to make it more than it was and schedule a Disney parade but we'll definitely take it. Zing!
Wow.
But I tell you what, Danny White didn't waste any time. The UCF AD came right back. So how about the response? Here it is. Our policy has been to schedule Disney parades when we win New Year's Day bowl games. We've won 2 in the last 5 years, the most recent in 2017 when we were the only undefeated team in America and national champions. If y'all want to have a parade for WNIT wins, more power to you. All right, Rodney, who you got? Greg Bird or Danny White?
My question, is Danny, is that the former Arizona State?
No, Cowboys quarterback. Okay. No, it's not.
Well, Danny, you weren't the national champions.
No, you can say it, you can enjoy it, but yeah, you weren't. I mean, there was one team on the podium holding the trophy, and that was Alabama. But that's all in good fun, I think, anyway. All right, welcome back to TITV. Last year, Alabama, the women advanced to the Elite Eight of the women's NIT before losing to Georgia Tech. This week, Alabama hosts the Yellow Jackets and the Sweet 16. That game is Thursday night at 7 p.m. inside Coleman Coliseum. Now, it's been an up-and-down season for Christy Curry's squad, but she's happy to see her team finishing strong.
This team had some disappointment, and now they've turned that into opportunity. And I really respect the people in that locker room and how that they're working every day to improve and get better.
And now let's talk baseball. The Crimson Tide coming off a somewhat disappointing conference series opener. Alabama won the first game on Friday night, 10-9 in 13 innings over Georgia. That was on Friday night, but then dropped back-to-back heartbreakers, 6-5 on Saturday and Sunday. Alabama is in action tonight on the road at UAB. Now, Alabama softball is also taking on UAB right now. That's at home. The Crimson Tide coming off a heartbreaking finish in its conference series opener at Auburn, allowing the Tigers a 7th-inning comeback to win Game 3 and take the series. Bama also lost senior pitching ace Alexis Osorio, who took a ball to the head and is currently in concussion protocol. And, of course, there's no timetable for return. When you're in concussion protocol, you have to be cleared by the doctor. So hopefully she'll make it back soon. She is one of the best in the country, and you hate to see that, but ultimately she'll be okay. Well, when we return, Alabama gymnastics gears up for the SEC championships this weekend. Hear why Dana Duckworth thinks this weekend could be huge in terms of preparing her team for the NCAAs. And up next, your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the information on your screen posted right there, so you can call us now, 205-348-WVUA, 348-9882. Brandon's been off the last couple of weeks, so light him up with those phone calls, all right? Let's hear from you when we come back here on TITV.
We're so excited to not only be able to be in this part of postseason, but to know that we will, God willing, be back there for the national championship on the same surface in the same arena. So I think it gives our ladies a wonderful opportunity.
And Alabama's coming off another 197 performance, finishing the regular season with a loss to Oklahoma at home. Oklahoma, of course, is number 1. The Tide heads to St. Louis for the SEC championships this weekend. And the SECs will take place at the same venue as this year's NCAA championships. So good preparation for the Crimson Tide. Welcome back in, everybody, to TITV alongside Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Let's go to the phone lines. They're lit up for us tonight, Rod. Scott's first up over in Helena. Scott, how are you?
Hey, I'm fine, y'all.
Good.
Hey, I got 2 questions, guys. I watched a little bit of the Alabama softball game there, man, and kind of seems like we don't have a consistent, what I call a hitter in that line, and somebody that consistently hits the ball. And the basketball team, man, one thing I noticed about them, we have a terrible time at the free throw line, man. We leave a lot of points out there. We've got to get better at that. What do you guys think?
All right, Scott, first on softball. Yeah, I think in conference play, it's going to be tough to hit. But let me say this. It's tough for a lot of teams because pitching, these pitchers develop early. There is so much strong pitching now that when you play the top teams, sometimes you're just scratching out runs. I mean, that's the way it was between Alabama and Auburn. That's the way it is in a lot of series. So I agree with you, Scott. They need to hit it better, but it's not easy against these pitchers that are so good. As far as the basketball, Rodney, I got a theory on this. I said it on my radio show yesterday. It's not just Alabama. You watch these guys in the tournament make these incredible athletic moves, and they walk the free throw line 15 feet. Nobody guard them, and they can't make them. I don't think kids grow up like we did, playing 21 or playing, make most out of 10, or how many can you make in a row. I just don't think kids work much on free throw shooting. And I know the AAU coaches probably don't work on it as much as they should. And so you get these kids into college, and they're not good free throw shooters, and everybody says, well, why can't they shoot free throws better? Well, it's tough on these college coaches. If they get a kid out of high school who's not a good free throw shooter, it's tough to to learn that. I think they need to start working on that part of the game earlier, and maybe we'd see better free throw shooting, because I do think as a general rule it's down from what it used to be.
Well, I was trying to look up the stat real quickly, how many free throws Alabama hit this year. I think it was around 65%. I mean, they need to get that up. If they can do that, that's one of the keys to turning the team around, because at halftime of the Villanova game, if Alabama would hit the free throws, it would have been a tie game. It was a 5-point lead Villanova had. Yep. Alabama was 3 of 8 from the free throw line, so there's the difference.
And they went to the free throw line a lot. Of course, Colin Sexton had a lot to do with that. But you're right, Scott. That's an area that they need to get better in. But a lot of teams do. It's not glorious, I guess, to work on free throw shooting. All right, let's go to Walker County and talk with our buddy Sammy. Sammy, what's up, man?
Hey, Gary, Rodney.
Hey, buddy.
Hope y'all doing well. Good to be talking with y'all again. And I want to say something about the defense, maybe the line right there. My thoughts, Raekwon Davis, I think, next man up mentality, he can be just as great as he wants to be, I believe. And I believe coming off the edge, that Terrell Lewis, he's got stardom written all over him. What do y'all think?
Terrell Lewis, I think he's a fantastic player. Been talking about him for a long time, and I agree with you. I mean, he missed most of last season, went down in the opener against Florida State, came back, played against Auburn, then had a really great playoff. You remember the sack he had in overtime against Georgia. Yeah, I think he's a fantastic player. I know he asked about somebody else. Gary, I didn't hear the other player, but sorry about that, Sammy. But yeah, I do think Terrell Lewis is going to be a difference maker this year.
Future All-American, I think.
No question.
And #1 draft pick. Thanks for the call, Sammy. All right, Tim in Tuscaloosa, you hold on. We'll get to you when we come back. And coming up next, we sat down this past week with former Alabama offensive coordinator Lane Kiffin. Find out what he says was the most important factor and thing that he learned about coaching under Nick Saban. And more, your phone calls, emails, and tweets. As we said, Tim, you'll be first up. But go ahead and get in right now at 205-348-9882. You can email us at the address on your screen, or you can tweet at us. Use the hashtag TITV so that we will see it. We'll be back after this. Second at Florida Atlantic down in Boca Raton, our Johnny Congdon sat down last week with the former Alabama offensive coordinator and asked him what he took from 3 years under the maestro, Nick Saban.
3 years with him there, and he's the best in the world at what he does. You know, but probably his organization. You know, his organization in detail on every facet of the program, you know, is second to none.
And we'll have that story on Lane Kiffin up on our website shortly, so visit WVUA23.com for much more on Kiffin and Saban's relationship. All right, Rodney, let's go back to the phone lines. Tim has been patiently waiting right here in Tuscaloosa. Hey, Tim, go ahead, man. Tim, you with us? All right, Tim, you there? All right, Tim didn't want to hang on, but he wanted to know about Alabama recruiting a point guard, obviously with the possibility that Colin Sexton is leaving. And, yeah, they got a good one. Butler out of Louisiana is a good prospect. Rodney, reserve, Louisiana, Riverside Academy, 6'2". A little different player Jared Butler is than Colin Sexton, but maybe more of a true point guard in terms of distributing and running the team.
Yep, Jared Butler is noted as a really, really pure point guard, Gary. Good shooter, really defends well. I think he's very conscientious. He's got a great attitude. I think he's a really team player, Gary. And again, when you're talking about a point guard, this guy has all the tools that you look for. Now, he's not as dynamic as Colin Sexton, but really who is, but he's an outstanding player.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to Birmingham and talk with Sam. Sam, you're on the program. Go ahead, man. Sam's not with us. And hang on, folks, we'll get to you. He also wanted to know about basketball recruiting. We mentioned Jared Butler. The other two members of this class, Javion Fleming, a big man from over in Canton, Mississippi, and Deontay Wood, kind of a swing guy from Sacred Heart Catholic in Anniston, where he won 4 straight championships. I think Javion Fleming has a chance to be a really nice low post presence, rebounder. And Wood's one of those guys, Rodney, that he's versatile. He's got, he's physically built at about 6'4", 6'5", can play inside, can play outside. This is a good recruiting class. Now, it doesn't have the hype of last year's class, but it's very, very solid. Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, and plus, let's not forget Tevin Mack, the transfer from Texas, will also be a part of it because he's been here this year. He's got 6'6". Didn't he lead Texas in scoring before he left?
I know he was in double figures,
averaging
that's for sure.
15 points a game, and he's a guy who can play a lot of roles at 6'6".
All right, hopefully the third time will be the charm. Luke in Clay County. Luke, are you with us?
I'm sure I am.
Well, thanks for hanging on. What's going on, man?
Hey, doing good.
Go ahead. What you got for us?
Hey, Rodney and Gary, enjoy your show.
Thank you.
I'm a long-time listener and a first-time caller.
Super.
And the question I got is Alabama going to try to get any defensive lineman transfers like they did the quarterback out of East Carolina?
Well, Luke, let's give you a quick update in case you missed earlier. Gardner Minshew, the quarterback who seemed destined for Alabama, said he was coming here from East Carolina as a grad transfers. Now, today, tweeted that he's going to go to Washington State. So that's a little bit of a loss there. But as far as defensive linemen, they're certainly looking at several. One of those would be Tavita Mosika from College of San Mateo out in California, Gary. Guy 6'1", 330 pounds, really good player. He may visit here later this month.
Yeah, with Deron Payne off to the NFL, he might be plugged in there in the middle.
They need depth, and I think this guy could certainly provide that. But again, they're continuing to look at others as well.
All right, thanks for the phone calls. We appreciate it, even if you hung up on us. Don't go anywhere. We'll wrap up this edition of Tider Insider TV right after this. It's Bama UAB night. Baseball, Alabama's in Birmingham. That one's tied 1-1. They're just in the bottom of the first. And in softball, right here at the Joe in Tuscaloosa, Alabama's never lost to UAB, and they're planning on not losing to them tonight. Just in the second inning, already 6-3. Hey, you wanted some hitting earlier? Look at that. It's 9 runs. Both teams hitting it tonight. Of course, Alexis Osorio in concussion protocol for Alabama, so the Tide without its best pitcher, one of the best in the country. All right, our top story again tonight, spring football is back at Alabama. Tua Tagovailoa hurt his thumb on his throwing hand. He was sent to Birmingham, and Coach Saban says he will definitely miss some time this spring. Hopefully, though, long term, he'll be okay. All right, that's going to do it for the program. Our beautiful shirts and ties provided, as always, by the Locker Room in downtown Tuscaloosa, home of the original elephant wear. If you want to look like $1 million and feel like maybe $2 million, go down there in person and let them hook you up. But if you can't make it, you can shop online at locker-room.biz. Not just great original elephant wear, but all types of men's and women's clothing available at the Locker Room. All right, it's the third Tuesday of the month, and you know what that means? We're headed to Buddy's Rib and Steak in Northport for our Tider Insider TV hotspot. We'll be there in about 15 minutes. We're going to chow down. Why don't you come out and join us? If you missed the program, you can catch a replay tonight at 10:30 or anytime at WVUA23.com. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Good night, everyone.